Realism and Guilt. Let's talk about that one. So, first of all, I'm not a financial advisor in the same financial advice, right? One of the things that keeps circulating, it comes and goes in waves around the community, is the talk of realism. What is a realistic expectation? What's a realistic price point? What's a realistic level that the hedgies are willing to lose, as if they actually have a say in the matter, because they don't, right? And I find the realism talk to be a moot point because nothing about the situation that we're in is realistic. Okay? The holes that the shorts have dug themselves into are beyond the point of realistic. The amount of crime that has been committed, the amount of crime that they have gotten away with, the amount of money that they've taken from retail, the amount of bullshit that's been going on in the market is unrealistic. So my question is, why the hell should I be realistic? Why should we as a community be realistic when nothing about this has ever been realistic? And the main problem I have with the discussion of realism surrounding this play is that it is based off of history in the market for the way things have always been done. We are in uncharted territory. This is the first and possibly the last time we will have an opportunity like this. So to come out and say, or to ask, what is realistic is simply, in other words, to say, where is this going to go if we keep following the same trend that we've been following? That trend being dark pools, market manipulation, and all the BS that got us here in the first place. I don't know about any of you, but I'm not in this play to continue doing what we're doing. It's the whole point of this, right? So nothing about this is realistic, and hell no, I'm not going to be realistic. Because why should I? Was it realistic for everyone to lose their homes during the 2008 crash? Back before the housing bubble burst, everyone said, we're fine. Everything's fine. It'd be impossible for it to crash. It's the best it's ever been, right? And then what happened? The unrealistic happened. The housing market crashed. And a bunch of people lost their homes, lost their retirement, had to get second jobs, had to move, were homeless. Was any of that considered a realistic possibility before it burst? If you ask most people, they'd probably say no. Doubling down on that, is it realistic that the bad actors from 2008 will get bailed out by the government printing trillions of dollars for them? Is that realistic? But it happened. During the pandemic, the lower class lost an estimated $3.7 trillion ish, and the top 1% gained 3.8 trillion. Is any of that realistic to you? The topic of realism is something that anchors us to a lower price point. And the talk about realism gives the FUD and the shills what most people would consider a viable argument to stand on. Me, I don't think it's viable at all. Because nothing about the situation we're in is realistic. And the heights that this is going to go, once it kicks off, that's not going to be realistic either. Because why would it be? For all the unrealistic situations that we found ourselves in over the past year and a half, all the information we've uncovered, all of the crime committed by these bad actors has been what people would consider unrealistic if you had asked them 5 years ago about it. And yet for some reason now, retail has to lower their expectations based on realism. Realism based on what? Based on how things have always been done, which is to manipulate the market and steal from us? Fuck that. Take your realism argument and shove it up your ass, alright? The FUD of realism is a real threat to the psychology of this play. The argument of realism anchors us lower than where we have potential to go. If you want to talk about being unrealistic, the shills are now spreading the idea that, apes are going to sell, or they pretend to be apes and they say, we're going to sell at $300, right? I find it way more unrealistic that every person holding in this play would sell for a couple $100 than to let this run to 100k plus. 100k plus is absolutely a more realistic possibility than for every single ape who's been holding for life-changing money to sell at 300. That's just not going to happen. Another thing that I've been seeing about the whole FUD surrounding being realistic is they'll come out saying things like, let's be realistic here, most apes, when they see the price at between $1,000 and $2,000, they're gonna sell. And who the hell are these people? Since when the hell do they speak for me, or they speak for you? I'm sure as hell not selling at 1k or 2k. I haven't been holding this long. I haven't been doing my DD this long. I haven't been watching the P&L jump up and down this long, holding on to these shares for 1 to 2k. So who do these people speak for when they come out saying, let's be realistic, most apes are going to sell? That's FUD. That's trying to get into your head psychologically to get you more prone to sell at those prices. People talk about the amount of money needed for these price targets being unrealistic, right? And I touched on this on a previous video, how a lot of people will just grab the market cap of the entire stock market and just pin that number as the highest it can go. And there's a ton of flaws with that, but for those who might have forgotten, it's not just about the market cap of the stock market here. In fact, that's a pretty small amount of the bucket when you compare the offshore accounts that all these people and all of these funds have, that they're hoarding money in. The crypto space, which has a huge market cap, which they have a stranglehold on, you can see it with the crypto, when it goes up and goes down, it goes in these mini pump and dump cycles because they're pulling liquidity from the crypto market. The only way they can do that is if they have a lot of money and a lot of crypto. So they have, who knows how much money in crypto assets. And also just their assets in general. Buildings, property, you name it. The private jets, the yachts, the art. Ken Griffin with his copy of the Constitution. I think he paid like 24 mil for it or some bullshit like that. So no, I'm not going to sit down and say, let's be realistic about this, when nothing about this is realistic in the first place, and we have been beaten down consistently and cheated by what people are calling realistic expectations within the market. Now, let's talk about guilt, specifically the FUD surrounding guilt tripping. This half of the video you can sort of think is like a part 2 to the FUD video I put out, because a lot of it is embedded with the FUD that's out there. Some prominent YouTubers out there are now parroting the FUD that's trying to pin the blame on us. And I find it all too convenient that Ken Griffin had his little interview with Bloomberg where he blamed retail investors for the fall of Melvin Capital, but then lied about the fact that we eradicated teachers' pension funds. Now, that of course is not true. That's been proven as false, and it's just another way that they're trying to guilt you into selling early. And more of that is coming. When the price goes up and more chaos ensues with the economy, they are going to pin the blame on us. Fox Business had a piece out there where they were talking about how it's retail's fault that inflation is so high. They're going to blame us for the inflation. They're going to blame us for the price of gas. They're going to blame us for the price of food. They're going to blame us for everything that they can, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. Because they're trying to guilt you into selling early. There was a FUD that circled around. It gets recycled every now and then saying how, yeah, you might get millions from this, but it won't matter when a loaf of bread costs $1 million. That's not how this is going to play out. That statement is absurd, and it's simply trying to scare you and guilt you out of your play. Because they're going to say anything they can to get you to sell. They can't make you sell. Only you can hit that sell button. But they are willing to say anything they can to get you to press that button early. Me? I have no guilt in this play, because I'm not the reason we're here. They have weaseled their way into this situation through crime and greed. If anything, we're going to fix the market with this play, not destroy it. They've already destroyed it. It's already fecked. We're going to fix this. They caused this, not us. The market isn't destroyed and isn't corrupt because retail decided to buy stock in a movie theater and a video game store. They caused this by naked shorting these companies into oblivion during a pandemic in the hopes that the companies would go bankrupt and they could keep billions of dollars to themselves. They caused this, not us. They lie constantly. They lie to Congress, they lie to the news, they lie on interviews, they lie to us. They're going to lie to our friends, they're going to lie to our families, they're going to paint the blame on us entirely. And it's up to us to hold strong through all that, to see through it all, and to have the conviction and to remind ourselves that this situation that we're in and the situation to come after this kicks off, this is not our doing. This is not our fault. It's theirs. And I'll be damned if we're going to be the ones to pay for their mistake, just like we did in 2008. I'll see you all on the moon.